the prodigal son.
Hello?
Hello, Father. Dad.
Jake, you sound funny. Are you at the airport?
Well, I've had some setbacks, but if you wire me some money, I'll make it home for Christmas.
Just what kind of a bind are you in, Jake?
He's in the middle of nowhere dressed as Santa Claus being attacked by a killer bumblebee.
That's tumbleweed. Otherwise, it's just like she said.
We interrupt this program to bring you...
All right, everybody. My name is Kevin.
And I'm John.
I'm Adam.
And I'm Julie.
And we are the Real Movie Guys. And ladies and gentlemen, it's Christmas, so you know what that means. Real Christmas. Real Christmas is a special event where we take a look at all your favorite holiday movies. And on today's episode, we're going to be taking a look at I'll Be Home for Christmas. A college student faces an impossible journey when he left stranded in the desert, thousands of miles from home, with no money and only a few days left until Christmas. The 90s, specifically the late 90s, were a crazier time for a boy named Jonathan Taylor Thomas, who we've actually talked about on this channel before, specifically Adam's Best of Christmas from a year or two ago. We brought up the Home Improvement special, and Home Improvement was a huge show that catapulted this young man into heights beyond, especially with the Disney crowd. He did voice, I think, was it Simba in The Lion King, young Simba. Again, Home Improvement, a million other things. He was the teeny bopper heartthrob of the time. Don't ask me why I know that, just joking. But anyway, I'll Be Home for Christmas. It's an interesting movie. It definitely has that direct to Disney movie vibe feel to it. But overall, I gotta tell you, it's not a terrible movie. I would say it's probably average. My only issues with the movie really just has to do with Jonathan Taylor Thomas, and not really necessarily his acting or anything like that, but I think the way he's written. And we'll talk a little bit more about the formula that's in this movie. But before we jump into all that, Adam, let's start with you, man. What'd you think of this one?
Now, I'm right on the same exact page as you. I could kind of get the vibe that the dialogue was just written poorly for this movie. Because, I mean, for the most part, there were some funny parts, but a lot of the jokes just seemed to land flat. And, I mean, as much as I love his character to a certain extent, it doesn't seem like certain scenes just fall flat.
Jake with no last name, that's what I'm saying. He's the coolest kid in the late 90s who goes to, he's in college? Right? It was hard to tell. I
was very confused by that because he's 18. It's called the Pasadena College or wherever he is.
Oh, so I guess it's college then if it's called a college.
Well, no, but his dad mentions you
haven't been home in how many years?
You haven't been home in 3 years. So
damn.
Did he just go finish high school in California and then went to college? I'm very confused about his education. But
he's
the 90s were a weird time.
It was a weird time, but God, he was the coolest kid right out there, right?
And there was lockers, which I thought was weird.
Yeah, he was a smooth talker.
I've never seen a college with lockers, but I went to community college, so maybe that's just me. I don't know.
I really don't think it has anything to do with it. I think it's a weird situation. And I don't know if Disney knew how to write college maybe at the time. That they seemed a little bit confused there. But yeah, I see what you're saying, Adam. I also think it suffers from just being a late 90s movie. I think there's definitely just some things that haven't aged well necessarily, and I don't know if they were ever meant to be. It was kind of like a flash in the pan style movie at the time anyway. So, but all right, cool. John, how about you, man? This you said now. I think you said this was your first time watching this.
Yeah, this is my first time watching this movie. It wasn't the worst movie I've ever seen. It was kind of and also what you guys are saying too, with the whole whether they're in high school or college. Everybody looked like they were high school age. But they were all not even close to college, really. It seemed weird. And also, I thought it was very weird, the mannerisms between each person, too. Just threw me off.
Yeah, like I said, I think there's definitely a dialogue issue with the movie, and kind of like Adam alluded to, I don't think it's necessarily any of the actors, because two of them actually became pretty successful, or are pretty successful actors in their own right, but I don't know, I think there's definitely an issue there, but yeah, I could agree with you, man. Julie, how about you? What'd you think of this one?
This is a fun movie. Would I consider it a Christmas classic for me? No. My biggest gripe with it, and you kind of mentioned it a little bit, I'm sure we'll dive into it, is I just find the character of Jake to be so unlikable that it's really hard to root for him at all. In whatever movie you're watching, even if the character is not, perfect, which no character is. Like, you have to be able to root for them. And I really didn't want him to get home. Well, not that I didn't want him to get home. I just didn't want him to get.
You didn't want it to work out for him.
I didn't want him to get that Porsche, okay?
I don't remember him being such a douchebag when I was younger and watching this.
Rose-colored glasses, man. They're miraculous things sometimes.
I have to get this out now too, because then they have a moment where Jessica Biel, Allie, and his other rival Eddie. He's like, "Well, what do you see in him?" She's like, "He's just so poetic. Like, it gives me chills the way he acts." I'm like, he has done nothing in this movie to show that at all, except for maybe one part at the end.
Yeah, she said he recites poetry, and I forget who it was. Even it was somebody, and then like he's just nice and he's surprising. Okay, yeah. But like
we can dive more into it. I mean, there was some other little evidence. Where I'm like, okay, now that she mentioned that, this part kind of makes sense. But overall, like, I don't see that side of the Allie sees in him.
Right. All right, so let's just jump into it. So the main reason, and this is my thought as to why this movie doesn't work. This movie's in the spirit of a lot of what we would call road trip movies. There's thousands of them. A couple famous ones I always think of, especially around this time, like Planes, Trains, and Automobiles is one I always think of. Due Date is another funny one, especially in the comedy realm, where it's two people traveling. Usually they're like an odd couple, and they go through all these crazy situations because they had to get from point A to point B, and all hell breaks loose. Adam, I want to ask you something. So with this movie, what is missing that's in both of those other movies that I just mentioned? What's the one thing?
Another person?
Exactly. And I think that's a lot of what the problem is with this movie. So if you look at all those movies, we'll take Due Date, for example. We have Robert Downey Jr. is like the asshole, stuck-up guy who's a prick throughout the whole movie, beating down Zach Galifianakis, who's kind of like the goofy, haha, get all these jokes, but there's also like an emotional side, yada, yada. The problem is in this movie, we only have the Robert Downey Jr. character, and they really do write him kind of like a prick throughout the whole movie, and unfortunately, that does leave a lot to be desired. I will say, though, I think the writing kind of does warm you up a little bit to him by the time you get to the movie, as intended. But overall, though, I still don't think they really did a great job with it, because kind of like Julie said, when he got home, even though, like, by the end, I guess spoilers at this point, if anyone really cares that much about this, I'm sorry. He gets home, they're gonna give him the Porsche. He's like, "No, Dad, you keep the Porsche. We're gonna work on it together and be a family." I'm like, okay, well, I guess that's fine. It didn't really leave an emotional impact I think this movie was trying to get out of me. What do you think, Adam? What do you think of that kind of like connection?
I would have appreciated more of a change of heart throughout the movie.
Right.
Like, it was just felt so 180 at the end there. I was like, oh, that was not his character the entire time.
Right. Do you think it would have benefited from another character being on this journey with him versus, again, like some of those other movies that we've seen?
Yeah, I think so, because then he would have had more to go off of to kind of, I guess, show that growth that they were looking to achieve at the end of the movie there.
Yeah, I would agree.
We did have that very short stint, which I thought was funny. The guy that runs him over or almost runs him over. I can't remember his name. And they kind of had a funny back and forth. And then they do the whole, children's hospital thing, and they give away all the stuff and they're all crying over it. Like, but then, then he leaves and he's on his way. So if we had something more of that, and maybe with not as goofy of the character, because that character was pretty goofy, maybe it would have been a little bit more successful. Yeah,
and this suffers, again, as we kind of said, from like the Disney Channel goofy kind of characters, where they're like a little just too goofy for them they just don't exist in this real kind of world. Eddie, who's like the antagonist guy from his college and who's hitting on Jessica Biel throughout the whole movie, he's just too goofy to like be like a realistic bad guy. Like at first he's kind of like this big bully who's supposed to be intimidated by, and then as the course of the movie, like him and Jessica Biel just have this lost subplot that I just did not care for. Johnny, what'd you think of that one? Did you like Jessica Biel? Again, is a very famous actress, especially in the 90s here. We would see her show up in Seventh Heaven, many other things. Most famously, she's married to Justin Timberlake, who did a song with NSYNC for the end of this movie, so connection. But no, back to my original thing, John. What do you think on that?
I think you just lost me with everything you just said.
That's what happens. That's what I do.
I think he definitely would have, if he had a secondary character with him, even if he had the kid that was writing down the stuff to the jocks to telling them exactly what's on the quiz. I think if he was even part of it, I feel like it would have even been a little bit maybe better.
Right. I could see that.
But him by himself seemed like he was trying too hard. It seemed like almost.
Yeah, and again, I think the dialogue, they were trying to really force this really cool guy dialogue on Jonathan Taylor Thomas. And don't get me wrong, I know at the time he was extremely popular, and that's why this movie's created. I think we can all assume, right? I mean, if you look at the movie, it was made for him to be popular. You know, they were just kind of capitalizing on this. It could have been anybody, really, in that role. I don't think it would have mattered. This movie was made as a vehicle for him to kind of exploit his youth popularity. And you know, unfortunately, I think it does show with a lot of the acting scenes. It was probably just like a one-take, quick and done. It was just meant to appease, a small minority of fans there, I think, with that. But so what do you think, Adam, as far as like a Christmas film? Do you think this is a successful Christmas movie based on kind of the messaging? Because I thought, personally, and sorry to go to a side about here, but the one plot I thought was interesting was how his father remarried, which was very quick. It was like 10 months he remarried another woman, and that's kind of like a subplot that's in this movie. I kind of wish they explored that a little bit, because that was kind of like the reason he didn't go home in the first place. Missed opportunity much? I would think so.
I thought the same exact thing, because it's like there's so much emotional turmoil right there, but they don't even touch upon it really that much. Right. And I think that, maybe they could have stuck him with stuck Jake with the new I guess mother-in-law.
Oh, how funny would that have been?
Yeah, right.
She went to go pick him up from school and like, oh, I have to take you home or whatever like that. And then you can even tie it in the Porsche thing. You could tie that in even like, oh, well, your dad said if I brought you home, he'll give you the Porsche and I want to help you out, but he like hates her, and then they have all these like stupid things that happen to them along the way.
Right.
Gold, Adam. Solid.
Thank you. Hire me.
Yeah, I'll tell Disney. I'll get in contact with all my sources there. What do you think, John? What do you think of that idea? I think that's a pretty good idea for that movie.
Definitely would have been better than what they came up with, yeah. And I feel like it also feels like they almost just threw that in there, like, hey, we're just adding in some reason why he doesn't want to go home. Like they couldn't come up with any better reason for why he wouldn't want to go home in 3 years.
Yeah, and this just so Julie, I did find an answer to your question, by the way, as we were talking here. There was a college, and no one really knows why there were lockers at the college. There are not normally lockers at a college.
Is this like a Reddit thread or something?
Goof. What?
Was this like on a Reddit thread or something that you found?
No, this was actually under the trivia. Yeah, for this movie, there actually is no.
We still don't explain the why he hasn't been home for 3 years. Maybe he went to finished high school out in Cali, and then I don't know.
And awkwardly, both him and Jessica Biel were both minors at the time of this movie.
Huh.
So whatever.
That's unusual for.
Yeah.
Usually they're like 27 when they're filming this stuff.
40.
But okay. I know.
No, we have to capitalize on Jonathan Taylor Thomas, the voice of Simba, the heart and soul of Home Improvement. This is what this movie's for. And Jessica Biel's there because she was kind of up and coming, I guess. But yeah, again, it's interesting because I always think I do remember seeing this movie back when it came out, so I do have some nostalgia for it. And I guess that's kind of what does it for me. I know it's not a great movie, but I do think overall it's just a fun, kind of innocent movie. And I do like these movies from the Disney Channel, which I wish we kind of did get. Now, this movie did have a theatrical release. It wasn't a straight to DVD movie. I mean, you would think it would be if you were actually looking at it, because there's really nothing that special about it overall as far as production quality. But again, I don't think it's terrible. I think it is just a fun time, especially for younger kids, I mean, yeah, there are some like risque things in there about, I guess, minors, if you want to look at it that way, going into a hotel room and hanging out and all that. But that aside, it's just a fun movie. It's an innocent Christmas movie. You could do a lot worse. You could do way better. I mean, pretty much any other road trip movie is going to be significantly better than this. But again, if you just want a little nostalgia for the 90s, I think you could do a lot worse. So let's bring it in to our final scores. I'm going to give I'll Be Home for Christmas a 6.5 out of 10.
Hey, that's a Pathfinder. Catch up with them.
Who's them?
My girlfriend.
No kidding? All the way out here? Wait a minute. Are you saying that's Mrs. Claus in that car with another guy? Mrs. Claus stepping out on Santa, letting some other guy down the chimney? Why, that two-timing hoe!
Nolan, reality check?
It's fine. Like I said, it's about average for me. I wouldn't say it's anywhere miraculous, kind of like my summary before. Again, you could do a lot worse than I'll Be Home for Christmas, but if you want to see what cool kids with one name like Jake were about in 1998, this is the movie for you, especially when Porsches are involved and, cute girls. This is the 90s. This is a time capsule. Adam, what do you think on this one?
Yeah, I'm right around there too. I'm gonna give I'll Be Home for Christmas a 6.7.
There she is, right there. Isn't she the most beautiful thing you've ever seen?
Yeah, no doubt. So what do you want me to tell her?
That if she doesn't come home, I'll die.
Good. Die.
Same exact thoughts. I mean, it was okay. It was enjoyable. I don't know if I would keep it on my rewatch list for next Christmas, but I guess for a nostalgia factor, it was there. I mean, it's enjoyable for a rewatch every now and then. So
yeah, if I skipped it like every other year, every 2 years, I
yeah,
don't think there'd be a problem with that. You know, if I just want to relive the '90s and again see what cool kids are like, this is the movie.
There you go.
Especially in my mid-30s, that's what I need to know. John, how about you, man? What do you think of this one?
I'll Be Home for Christmas a 6.
Secret Fat Man handshake. All right. You know, confidentially speaking, just between us Santas, don't you ever get tired of wearing this suit? I mean, every year it's the same suit. Red, 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 red. I mean, does any guy really look good in red? I don't think so.
I'm definitely not going back to watch it ever again, but it was fine for now. That's about it.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of like the key phrase here. The movie's fine, right? And it's innocent enough. Again, I don't think it does any damage or anything like that. Again, it's really not meant for our cinematic viewing crowd. It's really just meant to be a generic family movie for kids to have fun with. And Julie, why don't you take it home? What do you think?
I'm going to be giving I'll Be Home for Christmas a 6.5 out of 10.
Sit. Roll over. Die.
It's a fun 90s movie. Do I plan on keeping it in my regular rotation for the holidays? No. But if I'm bored and just want something kind of on in the background, I'll probably put it on. I can't rate it any higher just because I find Jake to be so unlikable, but it really does have some fun moments. I like a road trip movie.
There's definitely.
There's better options out there.
Yeah, and I guess that's kind of the thing, right? If you're gonna watch a movie like this, there's better options. There's better family movies to watch like this. But again, I think it is a fun time capsule if it's just worth something checking out. But what I want to know from you guys is, what do you guys think of this movie? Do you like it? What do you think of Jonathan Taylor Thomas? Was he at the height of his career with I'll Be Home for Christmas? Do you love this movie? Do you hate this movie? It is in your rotation. Did Jessica Biel and Justin Timberlake meet on the set of I'll Be Home for Christmas, and this is where they found each other and they lasted forever? Please tell me. I need to know in the comments
was
below.
not on the set.
I can dream, damn it. I can dream. But again, let me know. Make sure you like and subscribe to The Real Movie Guys and leave your comments below. My name's Kevin. That's Adam, John, and Julie. We are The Real Movie Guys. Real guys, real movies, real thoughts. We'll see you in the next one. Guys, like what you've seen here today, consider giving this video a like and leaving your thoughts in the comments below. If you want to stay up to date with everything Real Movie Guys related, make sure to hit that subscribe button and check us out on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Don't forget, all you audio listeners at home, we are available on many podcasting platforms. Just search for Real Movie Guys, it should pop right up. Thank you again all so much for joining us on this episode of The Real Review. We are The Real Movie Guys. Real guys, real movies, real thoughts. Catch you next time.